Romani. I'm a business developer. As Rebecca already mentioned, I work for Amazon Web Services. And in that capacity, I'm working with transportation logistics companies across EMEA, focusing on public sector customers. So postal operators, airport, railway operators, and pretty much every critical infrastructure that is moving goods across EMEA is one of my customers. When I was asked to come and have a talk at this event, I was asked, can you talk about a customer story, right? So, well, we're AWS, and the A for AWS stands for Amazon, and that's probably the biggest customer we have. Well, without probably. And so when it comes to talking about customers, I thought, why not talk about what Amazon is doing and how Amazon is looking at this AI innovation, right? Amazon has been working in artificial intelligence for the past 15 to 20 years, and AWS, you could say, well, many people tell the story of AWS being born to support the need of Amazon. And that's one of the learnings that we as AWS are bringing back to our customers. So when we look at Amazon, basically there are two dimensions that are relatively key to whatever we are doing for our customers. And one of those dimensions is speed. If you look up here, there are, well, one of the examples that you can see there is in a Prime Day. That's one of these events where we basically have a lot of parcels being shipped because we basically invite all our partners to provide discounts for our customers and so on. So it's campaigns, and the fastest delivery was 13 minutes during Prime Day. So the busiest day for Amazon, the fastest delivery was 13 minutes. Now, this is not to say that this is what we're bringing to Rotterdam tomorrow, of course, but it's just to give you an idea of pretty much how technology and artificial intelligence is important to Amazon, and what kind of speed actually is possible when it comes to deliveries. What I like in particular about these speed dimensions at Amazon is the first example here, where you see 28% of purchase happen in less than 3 minutes on the Amazon website. This is also showing how Amazon is focusing not just on the delivery side, but also on the customer experience, and making the experience of a customer faster and faster is also very important. Why? Because customers love simple and easy, love to go buy something and then think about their business. And so having 28% of customers purchase lasting for less than 3 minutes is a very important metric to Amazon, because it's fulfilling what we believe being the customer need or the customer ask. But when you think about 13 minutes, it's like, okay, it's not that difficult, right? The other dimension that is very important here is the scale. Because when we look at the scale of Amazon, then we are looking at 400 million products being on catalog, 9 billion parcels being delivered to Prime customers in a year. You're looking at 1.5, maybe 1.7 now, million employees. And when you're operating at this scale, this is the scale where human decision and human run processes start to break, right? So I think for the theme of this very short keynote that I wanted to give, the theme is really about this is not possible without AI, right? So Amazon has been investing a lot, and you can see that also in that number there, 1 million industrial robots being part of the Amazon fulfillment, and this makes Amazon one of the largest industrial robot companies out there, operating in 130 countries. And of course, me being part of AWS, I take pride in saying that this whole supply chain is run by AWS when it comes to the technology stack, right? And this is the strongest enabler for Amazon to actually be able to run at that speed with that scale. So in here we have a little bit of very high-level representation of what the different steps are, but I think everything starts with forecasting that you see on the left up there. And Amazon is doing basically forecasting on a daily basis for a, let's say, more of a tactical approach, but is doing forecasting on a customer by customer, click by click kind of base, right? And I'm gonna show you a little bit of an example of that, because that's very important for Amazon to fulfill what we call the fulfill to promise. And this is basically where, let me call it out. All of Amazon's ability to deliver at that scale, at that speed, would really be impossible without AI. Let's see an example of that. You're probably familiar, well, who's not familiar with the Amazon landing page, or let's say Amazon portal, when you go and try to shop in Amazon. I think you might have noticed often when you try to buy a product, there is an important bit there that I'm zooming into. If you buy by a certain time, we are going to do an overnight delivery by this time. That's what we call in Amazon a fulfill to promise, right? So this is a promise that we are making to our customer. And we are basically telling our customer, you are going to receive this product by that time, if you order now. That's a deal that we're making to our customer, and customer centricity in Amazon is the #1 leadership principle, is the most important value that we have in Amazon as a whole. Now, if you think about the complexity that there is about making that promise there, so this basically means that I need to know already where am I going to pick the product, who's going to deliver that product, if the product is available or not available, where the customer is, and basically I need to cover the entire value chain in one simple information up there. If we think about what the complexity behind that question, the first thing is coming to mind is which fulfillment center, we saw before that there are more than 700 fulfillment centers available across the globe, should the order originate from, right? Well, the obvious answer is, of course, the closest fulfillment center is the best because it can be faster and so on and so on. But that's not necessarily the best answer, because there are many other dimensions to be taken into account, right? So what's the per unit handling cost of that fulfillment center? What's the shipping cost? I mean, there are different partners that we are using for shipping. Is there any opportunity cost? Is there any bundling that I can achieve? Is the product available in multiple locations? And so this is kind of giving you a little bit of what kind of complexity is Amazon handling, making it completely transparent to the user when it comes to having that very simple promise that is behind there. So this is basically kind of showing what is possible and a little bit what the state of the art is in the logistics space, right? So when we look at the artificial intelligence itself and where is it, the artificial intelligence, in the last few years, we've basically seen a tremendous acceleration when it comes to generative AI especially. So in 2023 in Amazon, we saw that was the year of discovery. So lots of team have been kind of playing with artificial intelligence, understanding what the potential was. 2024 was the year of experimentation. And 2025 was the year of production, right? In 2026, this is really the year of agents, and that's where we see the industry going. I think we've covered some of the agentic AI already on previous talks, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but I want to give you a few examples of where Amazon is now exploring and investigating, and as well as putting in production some of the solutions in this space. A few examples are Project PI. This is really in Amazon operations. It's Project Private Investigator. Now, if you think about the 9 billion product I mentioned before that Amazon is delivering on a yearly basis to Prime customers, if you think about 99.9% of lack of defects, that 0.1% remaining is still millions of products, right? So Project PI basically is working backwards from the opportunity of proactively avoiding a negative customer experience. Think about receiving a product that is perhaps the wrong product, is a product that is damaged, a product that is... This is not just incurring a lot of costs, but it's also approaching, is delivering a negative customer experience, right? So Project PI is basically a project that was born working backwards from that need. You'll hear me talking about this working backwards methodology, and perhaps during our panel we'll have the chance to elaborate a little bit more on what working backwards means for Amazon. But basically, these are the three dimensions that we are looking at when approaching artificial intelligence projects or generative AI projects as being a subset of that. So what is the data? Data, product images and informations. That's the data that we are feeding into the project. The opportunity, of course, is what I already mentioned, proactively avoid negative customer, and then build some guardrail. No personal information identifiers used in the process. So that's also a very important part of what Project PI can leverage or can deliver. So the Project PI basically, simply put, is looking at multiple dimensions of, so it's using, it's looking at expiry date, it's looking at how the product should be, it's looking at if there are damages in the product, and then what it does when it detects there is a defect is triggering through an agent a fallout of that product out of the conveyor belt and is redirecting that product to human handling, and at the same time is reissuing the same product to be put into the fulfillment process. Another example of artificial intelligence that Amazon is using that has developed is smart glasses. You probably have heard of this. This is really on the Amazon delivery side of the delivery associates. Smart glasses are basically a augmented reality device that are supporting delivery associates in taking the correct pathway, is giving alerts in case we know that notoriously there is, for instance, I don't know, some hazard or some alert. So there is a safety aspect to this. For instance, if there is a dog that we've logged that could be aggressive and so on, then this is also popping up into the glasses. It's supporting the associate in finding, hands-free, finding the parcel that needs to deliver at a given location. And is also supporting with picture taking, also completely hands-free, when the parcel is, for instance, delivered on the driveway or something like that. Again, the data being provided that we relied on basically is real-time overlay of packages details. This is being done especially in the van. Then address navigation. That's really for guiding the associate to the right place, and then the information coming from the routing system. By the way, these smart glasses are also now supporting the ability to basically inform the routing system themselves. So we are closing the loop back to the routing system in case we detect there are troubles or problems along the way. The opportunity that this kind of enabled, that we 30 minutes plus saved per delivery route, and hands-free proof of delivery. So our drivers now don't need to, our delivery associates don't need to have a handheld or a camera or something that is basically blocking their hands, right? Last case I want to bring is the predictive maintenance of vehicles. This is something Amazon has developed together with a partner, with an AWS partner, and it's basically this idea of having vehicles coming back from around, going through this tunnel. This is a nice example I wanted to bring, mostly to highlight the fact that AI is not doesn't necessarily have to be fixing a problem in its entirety, but it's something that will bring incremental value, right? So what is the value of this solution? Well, the predictive maintenance for sure, but there is also the value of reducing the time that a driver needs to spend now after finishing a round in inspecting the vehicle manually. So we're bringing the inspection down from 10 to 15 minutes to maybe 30 seconds. That's the time it takes to actually go through that tunnel. This is a relatively cool technology if you look at it from the technology standpoint, but from a business process perspective, it's also super relevant because this is actually one of those incremental improvements that are making possible that 30 minutes delivery that we spoke about before. In closing, I wanted to perhaps share this slide. When I talk to my customer often when talking about artificial intelligence, generative AI, I get the question, where should we start, right? And a typical approach that my customers, but pretty much every company is having, is this, what we call the working forward. And so we have a new technology, we have a hammer, right? And now let's try to find a nail to hit this hammer on, especially when you talk to technology folks. That's pretty much the way it works. What Amazon does, and this is not just for generative AI, but in general, in whatever business endeavor we start, we work backwards. And working backwards, as I mentioned at the beginning, is something we're going to elaborate a little bit on. But it's basically starting from the customer need, keeping that in mind, and focusing on that is the prime driver for everything we do in Amazon, and then work backwards from that need and try to find a solution to it. So this basically translates into AI not being a destination, but AI mostly being just a tool for improving your business model. I hope this condensed version of a much longer talk was beneficial to you in any shape or form. I'm Enrico Romani, and I thank you for your time.